So optimizing your health is going to be one of the most powerful things that you can do because it's the foundation for everything else. If your body and your mind are not feeling right and not feeling vibrant, as is your natural consciousness's birthright, then it's going to bleed into your relationships, into your career, into everything else that you do, which is why it's so important, because health is really just means to clear the lens through which the consciousness is able to operate through the world. So the consciousness is operating through a mind, and that mind is operating through a body, and the body is operating through different senses and organs and different functions that we have. When we optimize those, really what it means is we're allowing consciousness to thrive in its ability to perceive and its ability to express. Okay, so I'm going to share just one little excerpt that I think is going to be super powerful for you to just contemplate and refine in your health. And I think even just this mindset shift without knowing anything about nutrition or exercise or sleep or anything like that is going to be super invaluable for you. So what I want to speak about is your diet. Now, I know what you're thinking. We're going to talk about leafy greens and kale and proteins and all that. We're not going to speak about any of that. So relief there. But really what Ayurveda speaks about as being our diet is not just what we put in our mouth, but what we put in through all 5 of the senses: our ears, our eyes, our nose, our skin, and our tongue, our sense of taste. So really what I want to talk about is how we can observe what our actual diet is, and even just bringing awareness to those 5 areas of our diet is going to dramatically transform the way in which we approach things. And by understanding that whatever we eat through those 5 senses, through any of those sense organs, is ultimately becoming our consciousness, and that consciousness is determining our destiny, then we can take it a little bit more seriously and see, is it uplifting me? Is it helping me become who I want? Or is it not? Okay, so starting with the ears. This is really a portal into our perceptual world. The Vedas say that we actually see through our ears. Why is that? It's because when you hear something, it's ultimately creating a perception or an identity. When you hear something about the world or nature or yourself or divinity or whatever it may be, it is creating your perceptual world. And you are not just seeing the world through your eyes, but you're seeing the world through your eyes plus your perceptual internal world that you've cultivated through the things that you've heard. So to make it more practical and more simple, less philosophical, what I want you to think about is, are the vibrations that I'm hearing uplifting and helping me become the person that I want to become, helping me embody the ideals I want to embody, helping me heal, helping me connect with my own self? Or are they detracting? Are they pushing me further away from who I want to be? Are they not that uplifting, not that inspiring, and not helping me heal? So things like gossip or criticism or low vibrational music, these are all things that are really affecting our health and our mental health specifically, because it's filling our thought world with things that are not wholesome foods, right? It's just junk food. Think about junk food for the ears. How much of that are you allowing into your life? Okay? And think about replacing that with positive alternatives. There's mantra music. There's many types of sattvic music, which means music that allows you to just be, exist. It's not filled with degrading messages. So there's alternatives for that. And hearing wisdom, right? Hearing sacred literatures, hearing people who want to help you better yourself and have your best interests in mind. Okay? So that's the first one, is the ears. The next sense I want you to think about refining are the eyes. So I mentioned the eyes are the perceptual, visual aspect, but then there's also the perceptual world that we've built through what we hear and through what we think. But really, again, the concept is, how much junk food am I consuming through my eyes? That includes things like social media, scrolling endlessly, binge watching Netflix, watching lots of movies, most of which don't really have uplifting, inspiring messages. If you have found them, send them my way. I'd love some more actual inspiring content. I haven't been able to find a tremendous amount. It's because the reason is we want content that's gonna appall us, that's going to shock us, that's gonna disgust us. And movie makers, show makers know that. So unfortunately, what's happening is the normalization of behavior and mindsets that are really destructive and really not healthy expressions of love and consciousness. So things like really grotesque films, or violence, very violent films, or things that showed a lot of depression, or people doing disconnected, disjointed things in the world, very destructive sort of consciousness things in the world, or divorce, or whatever it may be. These things are becoming very normalized through the media that we're consuming. And so we just have to become aware that whatever we're absorbing our consciousness in, it's becoming more and more normal to us. Therefore, these things that are meant to be provocative so that companies can pull in your consciousness to consume more of their content through shock and, being grossed out or whatever it is, those things are working, and it's disconnecting you more from what a healthy reality looks like, because you're seeing an unhealthy reality play itself out over and over. So hopefully that makes sense. And just understand how much junk food you're allowing yourself to see, and know that your mind deserves better. Okay, that is a realization I've had recently, is just deciding that my mind deserves better, and I can't allow my eyes so much junk food anymore. So really observe that. The next sense I want you to think about refining is the skin, or the sense of touch. Now, we don't really think about this a lot because we're a little bit disconnected from our bodies, but our skin is really the boundary that separates us from the external world, from pollution, from harmful signals coming in, from harmful rays and radiation that's coming in, chemicals, from smog, from the noise that's coming in. It's a protective shield and a boundary between us and the outside world. So by nourishing our sense of touch, we actually nourish our ability to create healthy boundaries, and we nourish a healthy boundary system that protects us in an immunity sense, but also in an energetic, mental sense as well. So one of the most powerful ways to do that is by giving it healthy, healing touch. So when I think about the sense of touch, most of us are just receiving casual touch, sometimes, handshakes, high fives, maybe a hug, maybe a little affection through there. But many people are not even receiving affection-based contact, physical contact. And even less people, for sure, are making conscious time to receive healing touch, right? So there's casual touch, there's, affectionate touch or romantic touch. There's a violent touch, right, which is abuse, obviously. And then there's healing touch, which is not charged with any of those other things, violence, romance, or any of that. So what I want to encourage is that is really the most nourishing touch that we can receive, is purely healing touch. You can do that for yourself. Simple way, just putting a hand on the heart, putting a hand on the belly for a start, letting the belly relax. You can do that through learning some of the acupressure points or marma points that de-stress the body, or intuitively massaging your own body. You can learn that through a Bunga Ayurvedic oil massage, which is the king of all self-care practices. And really the purpose of any self-care practice is, again, to nourish the senses, because the senses are a pathway through which consciousness can perceive and express itself. Okay, so a Bunga oil massage, I have some amazing resources out there if you want to learn this. I'm happy to send them your way, just let me know. But really that oil massage and that sense of healing touch that you can receive and give to yourself is something that we have to practice. It's not a really big part of our culture, in the West at least, whereas physical touch is a huge part of many other cultures, and mothers massage their babies every single day in many countries. Here, it's not. So we have to cultivate that and develop healing touch as a value. We can do that by getting Ayurvedic treatments or massages, or by doing that to ourselves, like I said. So I'll end it there as far as the sense of skin, but just understand that it's super, super essential for your nervous system, for your emotional health, for your mental health, and for your body's ability to create healthy immunological as well as energetic boundaries through the skin organ. The next is the sense of smell, or the nose. This one's very simple, very brief, but understanding that smell has a massive impact on our consciousness. I knew that living as a monk in New York City, where I wasn't used to living in New York City at all, and the smells there are absolutely rancid and putrid. You walk out and it's like a sunny day, and you walk out and you're like, oh, I'm gonna have a great day, and you walk out and you just get smacked by all the sense of nasty smells that New York has to offer. But my point here being, what sort of smells are you consuming? Maybe we're not super conscious of this, but making our space very clean, smell uplifting. We can do that through pure essential oils, diffusing in our space by lighting incense or Palo Santo or sage, just very lightly. We don't want to have a smoky environment, but understanding that that's going to have a massive effect on our consciousness as well. So keeping that in mind. And lastly, finally coming to what you thought I was going to say in the beginning when I mentioned diet, which is what comes in our mouth. Okay, so the hydration, the foods that we receive for actual nutritional value. Hydration is absolutely essential component of nourishing the tongue and nourishing the entire body. Spring water is going to be the most superior option. So check out findaspring.com. You can find a spring in your area, or else you can buy spring water from your local grocery store. And unfortunately, that's what we got as best options. But deionized and distilled and reverse osmosis water are all dead waters, which means they don't have any real life force in it. They don't really enter into your cellular membrane super easily. Tap water surely doesn't, with many horrible metals and chemicals that are in it if you're in a more urban setting. If you're in a more rural setting and you're in a spring or good well water and you've had it tested, then that may be fine also. And then as far as your actual diet, then obviously the most important thing that you want to do is eat fresh daily. Okay, so with our fast food culture, it's very easy to not make time for proper nutrition, because if we just see the body as something we just kind of have to keep alive for our own enjoyment or whatever it is, and it's not a sacred temple, then we just kind of shove whatever in with the time that we have. And sometimes it's a very practical limitation that we have. Okay, so as much as possible, cook fresh, organic, whole foods and eat those foods fresh. That's going to make a massive difference. Next most important thing I could say, which I could say a trillion things, because this is a massive science in and of itself. Happy again to provide way more resources than this if you like them. But it's to eat seasonally and locally. Those two things are both attained and achieved just by shopping at your farmer's market nearby. Okay, it's going to be foods that naturally grow in your area, which are naturally going to be balancing for the time of year that they're growing in, the location that you live in, and are going to be super fresh. They're not going to be something picked 2 months ago, shipped across the country in a cargo container, and then carbon dioxide gassed right before they hit the shelf so they look ripe, but actually they're nutritionally far inferior to what you're going to find at a farmer's market. So those are a few tips as far as what you're eating. And then how you're eating it is a whole nother science, but making sure to have gratitude for the food that you're about to consume. So that could be through a prayer, through a mantra, or just through a simple moment of silence or moment of gratitude. And then chewing your foods properly, I would say, is the last tip I'll give on how to eat properly, because the Ayurveda says half your diet is what you eat and the other half of your diet is how you eat it. So there's a massive science of how to actually consume your food so you maximize the nutritional output and absorption of your food, and make it a much more meditative, beautiful experience. So put your fork or spoon down in between bites and chew your food, and actually just enjoy the food that's in your mouth currently, instead of what we typically do, which is I'm chewing on some food right now, and then I'm meditating on the next bite already, and I'm not even enjoying this bite because I'm meditating on the next bite already. And that cycle just continues, and then you've eaten your whole meal without really meditating on what you're eating right now. So try these out. This is a little quick class on regulating your health. Again, understanding what type of junk we're eating through all of our senses, not just the mouth, and deciding to upgrade our standard of living, because our body is sacred, our mind is sacred, and it's going to spill over into every single thing that you do. All right, hope this helps. Go get it. Let me know if you have any questions, and feel free to reach out.